Yes, and we're in this new era, right? And this post era. But one thing we know about this era, that it's not an era. ERROR. We're talking about the truth, the real deal. And I'm talking 40 years of my boys, Anthrax, my teachers, mentors, innovators, pioneers, creators, and just the hardest band on earth, hardest,
I think
fastest band on earth.
I think we could just end it right there.
That's good. Great interview. I enjoyed that, Chuck. Thanks for the kind words. Great one.
Thank you, Chuck. Thanks.
Well, well, 40 years, right? I mean, you look at you guys, right? And one thing I learned from you guys is that you attack your songs. If you don't do your songs will do you. I was just telling somebody in the interview that before Anthrax goes on any tour stage, you have to condition yourself like an athlete. And the further you move up in age, the conditioning aspect is like you guys were LeBron James before LeBron James. Go
Right.
into, because either you do the songs or the songs are going to do you.
Yeah.
And the more that you guys go out there and look at a Mount Everest of a set looking right back at you, you got to kind of get ready for that. Where did that come from?
Wow.
Wow.
Great
I
question.
think, you know, in the early days, we used to do that in the rehearsal room. Like we would play 5 nights a week, at least
Somet
6 nights a week, sometimes
Yeah.
every night. We had that shitty room at the Music Building in Jamaica, Queens, and we set it up in there like it was a concert. We set up the back line like we were looking at an audience, and we would rehearse, and we'd be up there banging our heads in rehearsal like we were playing to the Garden. But it was just like 1 or 2 of our dudes hanging around who could care less. But we're in there banging our heads and running around like that. We just always had, this is what the music made us do. It's like what you were just saying, you do your songs or they do you. The music was just forcing us to do this. It's like I didn't have a choice. I was going to bang my head. There was no choice. It was involuntary. It just happened.
The fact that we would do that in a music building, in a room with no audience, just some friends hanging around, it was the drive from the music, and I guess the goals that we were all kind of hoping we would achieve, you know. But I remember like when we played the Garden for the first time, and you and Flavor came out, and we did Bring the Noise for the first time. All that all that stuff back in the music building all came to fruition because it was just like, well, here we are, you know. And you could just feel it. That stage that night felt like it was powered, you know. Somebody plugged it in and we all just fucking took off. It was amazing.
It was kind of crazy because that night you guys will always say, look, you and Flavor was our secret weapon, you know, to use that night that nobody else had. It was like a pitcher coming up with this reverse slider.
It was great. It was, you were sneaking. It was like the 8th inning and we needed the out and you came in and it was awesome, man. That was the plug-in. It brought it to a whole new level. That show was awesome.
Hey, does anyone on here realize that actually we're talking about our 40th, but this is 30 years of Bring the Noise also this year. This is the 30th anniversary in 2021
I didn't realize that.
of Bring the Noise, of our collaboration, not of, you know, the original version, but our collaboration.
You know, I give you guys the 1000% credit for creating the whole genre. And you created the genre not without resistance, because you guys are like, Chuck, you know, where are you? Come on, man. And you had in your mind that this was something, and I couldn't say I didn't see it. I just said, yeah, because you basically did everything unprecedented. We're going to cover a rap song. Number one, rap is getting trashed anyway. We're going to cover a rap song and take it to another place. And I was like, well, take it to another place. Man, it was beyond my imagination. But you had the balls to be able to tell both worlds, go fuck themselves if you don't dig this, because this is necessary. It's history. It is the future. And I was like, whoa. So I mean, when people look at me and tell me about that, I'm like, I go like, no, those guys, it was on their blueprint, it was on their drafting table back before we even met. I got turned out when I happened to see Scotty Ian, you know, wearing a Public Enemy shirt. You guys were doing, I think, the Monsters of Rock in Donington, and it had like, you know, 6 million people behind Scotty. And I was like, what the fuck? And that's what made me want to put Anthrax in the original Bring the Noise anyway. We're all the same. We're the same people. We're the same New Yorkers. We're the same musicians. It's all the same. So when you come down and crash us, you're crashing them. When you come down and crash them, you're crashing us. You know, and that's where that came from. You're going to call all of our shit noise, so we're going to bring it. And that's where it came from.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I love it.
So you know, Charlie, you get credit for creating kind of like, you know, the break beats, you know, and you know, really bringing that out, you know, the turbulence of break beats. And where did that come from?
Well, you know, when we go back about 2 years prior to that, when we were doing this song called "I'm the Man," and the original idea for that was the Beastie Boys was supposed to be the MCs on it, but the schedules never kind of lined up.
Right.
And so we ended up doing it ourselves. And the beat in that song is kind of like it's like a Billy Squire song called I Got the Big Beat.
Right.
So I'm the man. I was like boom, ba ba boom, boom, you know, that. And I just think that we were so new to the whole way of doing that the beat just came out of us naturally. And then later on, oh, that's like Billy Squire, because most of the MCs used to break that beat down. So when Bring the Noise came about, we recorded that when we did the Persistence of Time record. I believe we did it. We took a couple extra days to record that song, and I remember thinking that Scott wanted the guitars to be like the horn section, but I wanted the drums to be just like ferocious, you know, starting off with like just fast double kick, then break down to the beat. That's how it happened, because we wanted to put our kind of vibe, our twist on it, but keep it like it sounded like Bring the Noise a little bit too, you know, and that was it.
It was all very rhythmic. It was all, you know, it was all set up well for the vocals. I mean, it's awesome. I still love it to this day.
What was you guys saying at that time to anybody on the outside looking in, like asking, like, what are you guys doing? Why that?
You know what? To take it back to "I'm the Man" again, like Charlie mentioned, you know, we just, especially, you know, three of us, Charlie and Frankie and I, growing up in Queens and the Bronx, you know, the epicenters of rap music, we all got into it early on. I mean, in 81, when I started college at St. John's, I was walking around listening to Iron Maiden and Run DMC equally. Like, that's what I was listening to on my Walkman between classes. And so it was just something that, you know, like any other music, whether it was Sabbath and Priest and Motorhead, Run DMC and LL, and a lot of that early stuff became a huge, you know, Rick Rubin's whole vibe. A lot of that stuff became a big influence on us, and that, you know, was the direct influence on us doing "I'm the Man," which we just felt like, all right, it's an inside joke. You know, we're doing our version of the Beastie Boys just so we could, just to have fun with. And if nobody ever likes it, who cares? We just did this for ourselves, like any other song we'd ever written. And then, you know, it took on a life of its own, and it blew up, and we kind of opened the door for ourselves with that, to then say, all right, ever since I heard Chuck's voice on Yo Bum Rush the Show, I've been obsessing over his voice with my guitar tone. How could I ever make that happen And for us, I'm the man kind of opened the door for us to then be able to take it to the next step.
And the fact that like Run DMC to me were like they just had this persona. I mean, they had a song called King of Rock. It was just like it was like the coolest thing. And then the way they dressed, it was just like I equated that to any rock band, you know what I mean? So I always thought they were the coolest. And I remember specifically we're like watching some Christmas stuff, some MTV stuff, and it's Christmas time and Hollis Queens comes on, and it was just like so. It was just so rad that these guys were just the coolest. So it wasn't very hard to like that stuff, you know.
It's also very heavy. It was heavy. It was just it had a heavy vein, man. That's what I connected to.
Yeah, very raw.
Yeah, very raw. Street.
When I think about Anthrax, I think in my mind, speed and power, power and speed, Barry Bonds or whatever, you know. But I'm saying though, you guys come from an era that I knew when I was coming up in my early 20s, late teens. Long Island, they used to have a paper called the Island Air and Good Times, and they just had bands
right.
on Long Island in the metropolitan area. Well, they were so, I mean, they got gigs every night in these gigantic places with logos, and a lot of bands didn't even want to leave the area. What made you guys, was it following Kiss, which took it across the world and the country? What made you guys said, listen, we're going to venture out because we can stay in this tri-state area forever doing the same thing?
Yeah, people were calling for us. I mean, the vibe just got really big, and we just had to move, man. We were just on a roll, and things were growing. As soon as I got in, too, I saw us we were venturing out quick, so we could go wherever they wanted us to go, and it was a good demand for us, you know. So it made sense for us to just take off, do what we needed to do.
Was Megaforce part of that? Was Megaforce, were they part of it? Because I think a lot of bands at the particular time in New York, the thing that they probably didn't have, they might have great management, but they didn't necessarily all have great record deals.
Right. Well, even before, you know, we never looked at it as a local thing. We were never part of that club circuit because we were writing on our own music. And in the early days, when we were trying to get gigs around the tri-state area, you'd show up with a demo to some club manager, and they'd listen to it and they'd be like, what the fuck is this? And they'd literally tell you, go home and learn a Van Halen set, and then we'll give you a Wednesday night. So,
wow.
And we were never, that's not who we were. There already were enough bands in New York and New Jersey doing that. We looked at we wanted to be Iron Maiden. We wanted to be Kiss. We wanted to be Judas Priest. We saw ourselves as that, even when nobody else did. That's what we wanted. And then, hooking up with Johnny Z and Megaforce early on certainly helped, because we were now with somebody who understood the music we were making, this new thing that wasn't called thrash metal yet, but you know, it's something new. And he had us in Metallica from day one, and he knew he had something special, and he, even with his limited resources, was going to do whatever he could to get this out there to people.
Yeah. So Chuck, I think that's one thing we've always had in common, all of us collectively as a band. We've always wanted to, from the beginning, take on the world. It was never a circuit or anything like that. It was always about getting out there and showing what we had. We felt it was strong and something different.
Yeah.
The passion, the thing about Johnny Z too, just to echo what Scott was saying, Johnny Z had the passion, the same passion that we had, but also he was learning as we were learning too. So if we got an inch, you know, we wanted to take a foot, you know, and the same thing with Johnny. He was really passionate about it, and he really kept driving it. And without him, we may still be in the minor leagues back in New York, you know.
Yeah.
Johnny believed from the beginning.
Do you feel that your edge musically, I mean, you guys turned it up. Do you feel like you pitched it up? You were faster and stronger than some of your contemporaries? I mean, it's all right. You can say yes. I mean, 40 years, really? It's 40 years. If somebody has their feelings hurt, so be it.
Yeah. I don't begrudge anyone their resentment. Yeah, I think certainly where we were from in our area in New York and New Jersey and Long Island, Connecticut, I think we were certainly a step ahead of everybody else. There wasn't much of an actual scene of bands playing their own music at that time. I'm talking 82, 83, and then Metallica came to New York and we played shows together with Metallica when, neither of us had a pot to piss in, playing shitty clubs. And you could just tell both bands, we had put the time in already. I mean, even at that point, we had already done our 10,000 hours, So I agree with that. We were certainly in our area. Yeah, we were ahead of the pack. That's for sure. But then you find out about, oh, there's this Metallica band from the Bay Area. Well, shit, look what they got going on. And then you find out about this band Slayer, from Los Angeles. And it's kind of like you had these three bands because there wasn't Megadeth yet because Dave was still in Metallica. But you had these three bands in three different places around the country that had all kind of risen out of the mess and we're really putting something new out there that nobody else was.
Told me to ask you guys about Kiss and their influence briefly.
Oh wow, they to this day they still have a big influence on us. What they meant back then, they still mean that. But Kiss was the band that came out of New York that, like us, they took a chance and had a different style, different look, whatever, and it worked. And they were the band that we always looked up to. And when we got a tour with them, that was probably one of the greatest 3 weeks of our lives. Every day was an adventure, was the greatest.
Kiss for me was my gateway. They were the first band as a kid I got into that my parents didn't like. And I couldn't have loved it more. Between the music, the look, the horror, the comic book aspect, all of it. It was like, it was my drug, as an 11-year-old. They wrapped it up in a bloody, fiery package that was just so perfect. And seeing them at the Garden in '77, I walked out of that show knowing that there's no way I had to do that. I was going to be in a band, not necessarily a band blowing fire and all that, but I wanted to be on that stage. That's what I was going to do with my life.
I feel the same way. I was the same exact. I think we all had that vibe. That I knew when I saw Kiss, I said that is what I want to do. I left the same show. They were superheroes. They were our superheroes, and for me, that made me want to do what we do, and I'm very thankful for them.
It's funny. I was at the same show Scott was at in '77. Frankie was there too, and I think I saw Scott, and we walked out. I probably had the same look on my face as we walked past
we were
each
flying.
other.
Yeah, we were flying.
I feel the same thing, the same way about you guys, as far as getting so close to what rock guys are, and often, you guys hear this too. Like I hear it in my genre that they say that you got to be a dysfunctional motherfucker for your art to be fucking great. And I say, well, I know some great guys who make great music, and they're just good fucking guys, and you guys are it. I would say that your admiration of Kiss. Me growing up in Long Island, we knew what Kiss was doing. We knew what Parliament Funkadelic was doing, and coincidentally, they were Neil Bogart's groups on Casablanca.
Yep.
Doing
Casablanca
ads, marketing, but for going two different ways. A lot of the black audience, they kind of took the marketing for this or whatever. And a lot of the rock audience took the Kiss marketing into the stratosphere, but they were on the same label trying to do the same thing out to everybody. And so, yeah, Casablanca had a lot to do with spreading the belief out there and planting the seeds, especially in that New York area. Mm-hmm. And when we got together finally, after, I remember we were doing cover story for Enemy in an interview, and I flew out to Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
we were on the bus, and we completed the song, and I think we completed the video, and we were sitting on the bus and kind of like, what's next? And I forgot who. I think Charlie said, "Listen, we should tour."
Yep. I said we should take this on the road.
And I was like, "Well, fuck yeah!" And that's how it started on the bus. And
that was the big conference. That was the big conference, right? A bunch of suits got together, you know.
Yeah, and to tell you how we were mentored and how we were trained and how we were taught. Up to 1991, Public Enemy was the, Power and Speed was our thing. Power and Speed. We're not holding anything, but we're going to do something with our hands, our arms, even as one guy has the music. We're going to have movement and motion. Vocals are going to come at you. We're going, and we learned from Anthrax also later on, I'm going forward and back, is that not only do you need a conditioning workout as a player, you need a conditioning workout as a fan. Especially, you need to get ready as a fan and be ready, because you could be carried out in a stretcher. But we had learned that although in our genre, we're kicking ass faster, that's what gave us our edge. We're going to be faster. We're going to be faster and stronger, faster and stronger. And then finally, we have the Bring the Noise tour with Anthrax. And in Poughkeepsie, New York, the first date, you got Yo MTV Raps and you got the metal, the
Headbangers Ball.
in the same place. History is about to be made. I'm looking at my guys, and we do the sound check. We're going on. My guys, they're playing football in the arena, and I'm like looking at the guys. I was like, I don't think these motherfuckers fucking know what this is. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen that it's gonna be bad. And you guys commenced to fucking teach everything about how to mangle a fucking arena stage, down from the highs to the lows, lighting. And I was like, that first night in Poughkeepsie, I had such an education. I went to my bus afterwards and I fucking screamed at everybody. And people were like, what the fuck? That's rock. We're rap. And I said, yo, man, I'm sending all you motherfuckers home, man. And there was one guy, Crunch, our man Keith Godfrey, who said, yo, bro, because he's a footballer too. He said, yo, bro, yo got your asses whooped tonight really bad, man. You look like fucking poetry in slow fucking motion. And I said, I don't know what it is here, but I got to figure out how we won't look like we're a fucking fish out of water here. We got to figure it out. And I fucking sat. I said, yeah, it's got to go here. It's got to go harder. You got to give every second. And then that's when Rick Downey, the Magis light guy, and he trained Crunch how, a very rudimentary way of how to work the lights. And it created the first hip hop light show.
Wow.
That's awesome. Wow. I love that story, man.
But he was the 13th man on the 12-man squad, because he was about to get sent home. And he found a way to stay on that tour as a light man. He became hip hop's first true light man.
Wow.
You guys. And then he had said, okay, learn what our set could be. What's our peaks? What's our valleys? When to turn it up? When to turn it down? You got to take an hour. It's not an hour. An hour show is really 1 hour of seconds broken down. It's like 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. Every second got to be broken down on where you have your peak and valley. We learned that, and we said we got to figure out how to make our music, get the peak out of our music to somehow visually and audibly get a sense of the speed and the power that Anthrax is portraying. See, the problem is when we went back on the rap tour, it was like we was Jordan. So, so it was like nobody wanted to fuck with us. They was like, "Nah, we don't want to play with them." It's like you know, we put back on the rap tour on steroids, man. Oh man, but the mentorship, and also the pioneering, and a lot of people wouldn't be able to see that, even for the rap genre. They never ever got to that point where they ever saw that there was a similarity, and there was a chord and a discord avenue between the two to take it to the next level. Yeah, we saw the rap rock revolution come in the 90s that you guys created. But I felt that no one really got it right, maybe until Rage Against the Machine, and they upped the speed, the rhythm, kept the rhythms, and they was an alchemy of a bunch of different characters that just came together, and it happened to be like that. But I think a lot of people missed the organic organic of what it was. And that organic aspect came right out of what you guys taught us. So that's just the alpha and the omega right there. Thank you for 1991's tour. I think that was a tour that was heard around the planet of what we dared to do. I think it set precedent. I think we are going to collaborate in the future for whatever it is. We don't know, you don't know, but I'm pretty sure it will be something. And you guys are always going to call me, and I'm always glad to jump on that stage when you happen to use me as a secret weapon in one of those particular shows.
Absolutely. Love that.
Oh, yeah.